What's up guys, this is Massey. Welcome to another video. In this video I want to talk about dot product of two vectors, but this time geometric vectors. So we need to use this formula. The dot product of vectors A and B is going to be the magnitude of A multiplied by magnitude of B multiplied by the cosine theta. What is the theta? Theta is the angle between vector A and vector B, which is between 0 and 180 degrees. That's how we found out the dot product of two vectors. In the previous video we learned how to find out the magnitude of vectors, and we found out how to find out the dot product of two vectors algebraically. So let's start with the first example. Calculate the dot product for each pair of vectors. Round answers to one decimal place. So the magnitude of A is 70, magnitude of B is 115, and the degree in between is 70 degrees. So it is going to be 70 multiplied by 115 times cosine 7. That makes it 2753.3. And as we know from before, the answer to the dot product is always scalar. Next one. We have vector 12, the magnitude is 12, the magnitude of C is 8, and the angle in between is 150. So the dot product is going to be 8 times 12 times cosine 150 degrees. So it's going to be 8 times 12 times cosine 150, which is going to be negative 83.1. Whenever we have the angle theta between 0 and 90 degrees, answer is going to be positive. Why? Because cosine of any angle between 0 and 90 is positive, and cosine for any angle between 90 and 180 is going to be negative. And don't forget that cosine 90 is 0. So whenever we have two perpendicular vectors or two orthogonal vectors, the dot product will be 0. Why? Because cosine 90 is 0. Next one. So here we have two perpendicular vectors, 150 for F, that's the magnitude, and the magnitude of vector E is 200. So it's going to be 200 times 150 times cosine 90. So we don't care about multiplication of these two because cosine 90 is 0, so it's going to make the dot product equals to 0. Next example is G 5000, the magnitude. The magnitude of H is 4500, and the angle in between is 180. So it's going to be 5000 times 4500 times cosine 180. So that's going to be 5000 times 4500 times negative 1. It will be negative 225,000,000. It's going to be negative 22,500,000. Next one is going to be 610, and the angle is 30. That will be 52.0. Next one, the first one, the magnitude is 30. Second one, the magnitude is 15. And the angle in between is 120. So it's going to be 30 times 15 times cosine 120. It's going to be negative 225. Next one is going to be 5.8 times 13.4 times cosine 180. Four times 6.1 times cosine 90. That's going to be equal to 0. Next one, A is 850. B is 400, and the angle is 58, so it's going to be cosine 58 degrees. That will be 180,172.5. Next one is going to be 16. And here it says the magnitude of P is 2 times magnitude of M, which is going to be 2 times 16, which is 32 cosine 153. 16 times 32 times cosine 153 is going to be negative 456.2. Next one, calculate the work done. F dot S, given the magnitude of F is 7, magnitude of S is 3, and the angle in between is 0. So it's going to be 7 times 3 times cosine 0. It's going to be 21. Next one, calculate the work done. F dot S, magnitude of F times magnitude of S times cosine 27. 8 times cosine 27 is going to be 7.2. Next one is going to be 5 times 4 times cosine 48 degrees. So it's going to be 20 times cosine 48. 13.4 is going to be the answer to the dot product. Next one, the dot product is going to be F times S times cosine 56 degrees. So it's going to be 6 times cosine 56 is going to be 3.3. In this example, it says find the angle between U 4 and 3 and V 3 and 5. So it's going to be U dot V equals to magnitude of U times magnitude of V times cosine theta. So we need to find theta. First of all, let's find out the dot product of U and V. As we had it before algebraically, it's going to be 4 times 3 plus 3 times 5. It's going to be 12 plus 15. That's going to be 27. Then we can say cosine theta equals to U dot V divided by magnitude of U times magnitude of V. Magnitude of U is going to be 4 squared plus 3 squared. It's going to be 25, which is going to be 5. Magnitude of V is going to be 3 squared plus 5 squared. It's going to be 9 plus 25. It's going to be 34. So cosine theta equals to 27 divided by 5 times square root of 34. So it's 27 divided by 5 divided by square root of 34. 0.9 is going to be the cosine. So theta is going to be inverse of cosine 0.9. That's going to be 26 degrees or 25.8 degrees. Approximately 26 degrees. So here in this example it says are the vectors u 2 and negative 3, v is 6 and 4 are orthogonal. So we need to find out the dot product. If the dot product is 0, they are orthogonal. Because we know when we have two perpendicular vectors, the dot product is going to be 0. So it's going to be 2 times 6 plus negative 3 times 4. So it's going to be 12 minus 12 equals to 0. So since the dot product is 0, it's going to be orthogonal. Next, sign of the dot product. For the vectors a and b, the dot product a dot b equals to the vector a times the vector b times cosine theta. And the theta is between 0 and 180. As we had before, when theta is between 0 and 90, the dot product is going to be positive. Why? Because the cosine theta is positive. If theta is 90 perpendicular vectors, cosine theta is going to be 0. The dot product is going to be 0. If theta is between 90 and 180, cosine theta is going to be negative. So the dot product is going to be negative. Two vectors a and b are placed tail to tail and have magnitude of 3 and 5 respectively. There is an angle 120 between vectors. Calculate a dot b. Magnitude of a times magnitude of b times cosine theta. So we have 3 times 5 times cosine 120. negative 7.5. That's going to be the dot product. Given vectors a and b, where magnitude of a is 5, magnitude of b is 8, and the angle between is 60. Calculate a dot b. It's going to be 5 times 8 times cosine 60. That's going to be 20. And don't forget that these are not vector, these are scalar. The answer to dot product is always scalar. Next one. If the magnitude of a is root 7, calculate the dot product of a and a dot a. What does that mean, a dot a? It means that the magnitude of a times the magnitude of a times cosine 0, because the angle between these two, which are the same, is 0. So it's going to be root 7 times root 7 times 1. That's going to be 7. Next one. Calculate the dot product of the vectors. It's going to be 4 times 8 times cosine 60, which is 1 over 2. Then we have 60. Next, magnitude of x is 2, magnitude of y is 4, and the theta is 150. So the dot product of x and y is going to be 2 times 4 times cosine 150. Negative 6.9. P dot q 1 times cosine 180. So cosine 180 is negative 1. So negative 1 times 1 times 1 is going to be negative 1. The dot product of m and n in this case is going to be 2 times 5 times cosine 90. So cosine 90 is going to be 0. So the dot product is going to be 0. Calculate to the nearest degree the angle between the given vectors. So it's going to be cosine theta equals to x dot y divided by magnitude of x, magnitude of y. So it's going to be 12 root 3 divided by 8 times 3, which is 24. So the final answer is going to be root 3 over 2. And the theta will be 30 degrees, because cosine of 30 is root 3 over 2. Now we need to find out the angle for this one as well. Cosine theta equals to m dot n divided by magnitude of m times magnitude of n. So it's going to be 6 divided by 6 times 6 is going to be 1 over 6. So theta is going to be cosine inverse of 1 over 6. That's going to be 80 degrees. Next one, cosine theta equals to p dot q divided by p q 3 over 1 times 5. It's going to be 3 over 5. So theta is cosine inverse of 3 over 5. (53 degrees). Next one, we can say cosine theta equals to p dot q divided by magnitude of p, magnitude of q. So it's going to be negative 3 over 1 times 5, which is negative 0.6. So theta is cosine inverse of negative 0.6. That's going to be 127 degrees.